Hey, welcome back to WNST, Towson, Baltimore, and Baltimore Positive. We are into championship week. We're not participating this year. I'm not wearing my red Coons Ford shirt because I'm supporting the Chiefs, because I think I'm supporting the Bengals, although I'm a little bit of a hater. I don't really support anyone other than the Ravens and people that I like. Ryan Jensen got eliminated, and not that I like Tom Brady, but, Rams, 49ers, what do I care who wins as long as Tom Brady doesn't win? This guy was in LA, and I've seen him in LA, and we hung out in LA, and now he's in Miami, but he's really from Baltimore. Longtime Fox insider, as well as Yahoo Sports insider, David Katz. He is Katzmandu, and the lifer Ravens fan as well, now relocated, but not relegated, to Florida. What's going on, brother? How are you? Happy championship game week or whatever. It's been a little while since we caught up, huh?
It's been a while since we caught up. Thank you, Nestor. Always great to be on with you, and to be on with you after probably the best weekend of football in NFL history. Can I say that?
That's such a sort of like a hyperbole a little bit, but I watch the games. It would be very hard to top it. Yes.
I mean, this is why football is the American pastime. It's games like this, riveting to the end, 3 teams on the road winning on the last kick. And then you've got the game last night, which may have been the best, one of the top 5 games of all time in terms of what the comeback meant, and with everything on the line and 2 of the greatest young quarterbacks in the game. It was a treat to watch these games. And I don't know that the next round is going to be as exciting. I don't know that the matchups are good, but the NFL always seems to pull it.
David Katz is here. He is south, usually in LA. Usually when I bring you in, we're talking about, watching games in 3-hour delay. You've had a big change in your life, leaving Fox Sports as well. Tell me where you are, because your friends always tune in. Sable House be watching, and David Rose will be up in New York drinking Sagamore and doing all that stuff. What are you doing down in Miami? And do I get to stay at your place in Manhattan Beach next week?
The place in Manhattan Beach is rented, thank God. But you and I will be getting drinks down there for sure. And I will be in LA for 2 weeks leading up to and through the Super Bowl. And it's going to be interesting to see how Los Angeles handles this, given all the protocols and the safety measures, and whether they're really set up to host the biggest event in the United States. So I'm not really sure how it's going to go down. It certainly won't be as much fun as the Super Bowls usually are, but I think we'll be treated to a pretty compelling event. But in Miami, I made the big move after 23 years in Los Angeles, made the move to Miami, left Fox Sports after a great 3 years and building a lot of cool products with them. And I'm back to my world of the post game, where I was before when you met me and we really spent a lot of time. My startup that I think after 13 years can no longer be considered a startup, but there's a whole new sense of energy now when the world is moving to a world of sports betting. And that is where the post game finds itself, working with leagues and teams and athletes and brands, building a lot of these sports media products around sports betting. And we have a play in that space as well. So I'm excited to be working with the team and joining our CEO and our CTO and all the guys who do all the great work over there, and trying to kind of guide us into this world of sports betting as much as I can.
Well, it's interesting you say that, because I spent Saturday. Now, my wife and I moved on Thursday and Friday, and we had a little downtime, and the games were on. And I'm like, let's go down while we can, because there's only 2 weeks left of football, right? So all the casinos have opened. I went down to David Cordish's place down the Live for an hour and a half before the game, not during the game, just wanted to vibe it out. It's like parking the car in Vegas, right? Like you come in and it's just like Vegas. There's a bowling alley on the right as well. And I toured around a little bit, saw the line, saw the wagering. Obviously, this is the biggest change in sports if we're talking about what you and I have done for 30 years now, that this last year and a half. And it's not far-fetched to see it in front of you, right? The part that weirds me is watching baseball games, because I've never even known anybody who's a degenerate who gambles on baseball. And they're trying to get you to bet on baseball. And then there's the real time of ball strike, fly ball, ground ball, what's this batter going to do? And then like at the racetrack where the gate would fall when post time happens, so you can't place a bet. There's timing, web issues. There's all sorts of complicated things for what really is the genesis of the next realm of sports here, as I'm 50 something and you're 40 something. I think that the next 20 years is going to be this, that home team, all that. It's going to be much more like a rugby or cricket or what we see in Europe, that betting's going to be a centerpiece of being a sports fan. That makes you an astute fan. You bet and you make money off of it. That would be your time investment in this.
You're 100%. This is the inflection point that's going to change sports for the next 20 years. It's going to change media and how things are covered and the way we talk about it and the nomenclature and what the shows are. I mean, think about it from a media perspective. Our jobs for the last 20 years, 30 years has been the attention game. We want to capture people's attention, keep them engaged, get them to spend time with us and consume our content and listen and think. We are moving from the attention economy to the action. It's not enough for these big companies to get people in to listen. Their goal is now to get you to click through and take a side, to put your money where your mouth is, to engage at a totally different level. And when the goal is no longer to get attention of headspace, but to get attention of wallet space, you're going to see a lot of different tactics. And what we're going to see over the next year or two, I think is ultimately going to shake out, because right now, candidly, the conversation is way too much about offers and, bet 100, win 1,000. And, if Mahomes throws for more than 1 yard, you're a winner this week, just to get you to create an account. Eventually, the accounts will be created. And I think you're going to see a lot more interesting conversation that gets into analytics and the look of the historical perspective of this and the analysis of matchups. And I think that that's going to be where I want to take the business. I think that's going to be a more interesting conversation. But think about the ride that sports bettors were on this weekend, where every single one of these games was about to flip in the last minute. And last night, depending on what side you were on, Bills or Chiefs, you were either a winner or a loser, and you thought you had won or lost 3 different times in that last minute. That's the ride that sports fans are going on. And it's going to be interesting to see who ultimately are the winners and where it all spends out. But I'll tell you, Nestor, are incredibly well positioned because you know your hometown teams better than anyone. You follow them, you analyze them, and people are going to look to you, whether you like it or not, whether you're into the gambling thing or not. People are going to look to you for advice. They're going to want your take.
Well, they always did. And I've talked about this because I picked games when we didn't have a team here. I mean, I went on the air in 91, 92, 93, 94, 95. It was Vito Stellino and Ken Murray covering the teams, talking pigskin pick'em on Friday. We did, when we opened the radio station, 98, 99, 2000, when the Ravens hadn't won the Super Bowl yet, we did a pigskin pick'em on fax. The fax machine, we would have to put 2,000 sheets of paper into the fax machine and keep the faxes clean and grade the faxes to win a $100 gift card to Amici's or something. You know what I mean? Like, that was 23 years ago. Now, the other day, my wife and I are down at Maryland Live. And by the way, we're going to get back out on the Maryland Crab Cake Tour. I'm going to get you for a legitimate Maryland Crab Cake Tour, David Katz. And I went down to visit because obviously the Maryland Lottery and Gaming, John Martin's on every week. He's involved in this. They're opening up new places. We talk about the OTBs, and my friend Chris up at Greenmount Station, longtime sponsor, is going to have a license over Nick's OTB on Grandstand Grill over Timonium. But the 5 that are open now down at Eastern Shore, Hollywood, MGM, Horseshoe, and Maryland Live. I went to Maryland Live this weekend. I might go to Horseshoe next weekend. I wanted to vibe it and see what it looks like. In the same way when you and I are in Vegas, we're like, let's go over to MGM. Let's go over to Bally's. Let's go up to Caesars. Let's check out the Luxor. Let's, go wherever. And for me, being down there and seeing the line snaked, and it was really comfortable at the casino. Like, mask, there was space. I felt like I could sit down and play blackjack if I wanted to. I was just sort of touring the place, but it was full, but not crowded. And it felt safe, and everybody had a mask on, and the music. It felt like I was in a casino. It was fun. But then you get to the sports book about an hour and a half before the first game on Saturday, and there were lines snaked everywhere. Now, we're going to have mobile betting soon, right? And you're going to be able to just click from home or whatever. But at this time, you have to drive to one of these 5 places to get legitimate action, right? Other offshore, whatever that nonsense was going on with Costa Rica and Bet You, like all the stuff that if I would have taken their money on the radio, they would have hauled me into court 15 years ago because it was illegal, even though everybody was doing it. kind of like weed, kind of like gambling, kind of like, the bookmaker salad was invented and all that stuff. I'm seeing all these people, black people, white people, male, female, Bills fans, Chiefs fans, just people everywhere. And I'm thinking, they couldn't do this 3 weeks ago. All these people got in their car to drive over here to put $10, $20, parlay, $100, whatever your taste is, right? But I'm thinking, how did these people get action 4 weeks ago? And as I pointed out to the representatives, I'm like, I'm not one to say whether weed's good or bad, or alcohol's good or bad, or whether any of this stuff, right? But there's an appetite for it. There's an appetite to go do this and to see it and to see all these people. And I don't know what they were betting on or who they're betting on or how much they're betting, but I know it was important enough for them to get in the car, drive over, be there before the game, stand in a long line, with a mask on, to put their $20 or whatever they wanted to do. There's a real appetite for this, David.
There is. That is the definition of engagement. Think about what the NFL has been trying to do for the last 20 years. They've been trying to get you to pay a cable package so that you can buy these channels. And for your 50, 60, 80, $100 a month, you're buying a certain number of channels. And that money is ultimately being wound back to them in the form of these rights agreements. So if they're getting $5 a month from you or $10 a month from you, incredible value in the television ecosystem. Think about how much football we get for a monthly fee, of which a part of it goes to a sports channel that covers your network. The NFL is now salivating, and all these leagues are salivating because it's no longer about getting that per sub per month fee or $400 for Sunday ticket. If you're like me and you're a Ravens fan, you live in Florida.
Well, this is one of the things that's killed Masson, what you're talking about. It's killing
it's
Sinclair getting involved with baseball.
The whole economic model that underpinned these sports teams for the last 20 years is changing. The NFL is a little different because it's not about local. Masson and these baseball teams, it's all about local. And the value of that network is virtually nothing if the team is not on at that particular moment. No one's watching these channels when the game is not on. So what are those channels worth? What is that real estate worth? Totally different now. But imagine if your game before was, how do I get $5 to $10 a month from an NFL fan that ultimately gets funneled into my coffers? Now, $20 on a weekend, $50 on a weekend, or on a game, and there's 16 games going on a given weekend. That's where the money is. And before, you were interestingly talking about, everyone thinks about spread and money line and over under. No, that's not where this is really going to be in a couple of years. You talk about the per play betting, the per pitch betting. That is the next wave.
That turns it into blackjack. That turns it into fast action. That turns it into, well, I got the over and the under and a parlay, and I'll put $100 then I'll sit here all weekend. The casino wants you, not being $100 better, the casino wants you to sit in there and be a $5 or $10 better and sit there all day and bet all day. And that's where you get the jam of this is fun, that I'm not cashing, winning or losing one bet. I'm winning 30 times today, might be losing 40 or might be losing 20, but that's the beauty of blackjack. You sit there and you play all day and you get up $400 and you walk away. You can't do that when you bet the Bills and the Chiefs. You go all in or over under. You made 3 bets this weekend. You either made a couple $100 or you lost, and you only got to feel good or bad once or twice, unless you were betting these games this weekend where in the last minute and a half the lead changes hands 5 times. So you won, you lost, you won, you lost, and then maybe at the end you were like Tom Brady or maybe you were like Matt Stafford, right?
That's exactly right. Well, here's the interesting thing to think about. It's going to change our opinion of which sports are interesting based on what kind of betting is taking place. So you and I think, have had, we grew up baseball fans, and my love of baseball has waned as the sport hasn't evolved as much, and as our team candidly hasn't been as competitive.
By the way, the sport has evolved dramatically, just in the wrong direction. It's devolved.
There you go. Okay.
They would say it's evolved. The analytics guys are saying the game's growing. We're getting better at playing it. It's not interesting.
When you take the shift and all of a sudden it changes the entire landscape of the game, that's exactly right. But let's think about this. A sport like tennis and baseball, where there is a momentary break between every play, between every serve, between every pitch. Well, that is what the NBA is, this constant flow of action. So everyone kind of moved to this. The NBA is like the perfect sport in today's world. It's offense into defense, back into offense. and it's a constant flow. And then baseball feels slow and tennis feels slow. Now I'm effectively giving you a break long enough to place a bet on a game. And would it shock you to know that tennis is the fourth most bet sport in the world? It blows a lot of people's mind when you
And
hear
some
that.
people bet it and don't like tennis. They're just literally
Correct.
because they bet. Like
During the pandemic,
the whole idea is betting, not love of sports or love of Baltimore or love of Ravens or baseball or football. It's an inducement to make money. It's I can beat the system. Not
well, table tennis during the pandemic, when all these sports shut down, table tennis shot near the top of the most bet sports in the world because it was safe to play, it was repetitive, it is easy to shoot and watch, because that's the other piece of this. Betting and not seeing it unfold is not nearly as much fun as seeing the result play out in real time for you. Now, I'm not going to get into the streaming and the delays, and most people don't know when they're watching that NFL game yesterday that depending on what service they're watching it on or streaming it on, they're actually 15 to 45 seconds behind the action.
David, I moved this week and our cable wasn't set up the right way, and we really got effed. All weekend long, we fought with the NFL online stream and Paramount wanting $4.99 for a subscription that we were not taking for 7 days, and like literally put down boxes on Thursday and Friday, and we're like, oh, how are we going to watch the game? Well, we'll be able to figure it out. And I'm like, they're going to rape and pillage. By the way, I went to South Korea 2 years ago. I couldn't get the game. I mean, it just was impossible. There was no way to buy it, which I was really kind of blown away that I'm in a city of 40 million people and I've got Wi-Fi that works at 200 megs and like I can't get the game. I watched the Ravens-Bills game 2 years ago. My son took his phone on FaceTime to my wife's iPad on FaceTime to my laptop in a bed at the Courtyard in Seoul, South Korea. I was watching basically a slingshot off of Facebook because you couldn't buy the games. The streaming, it sucked, dude. It was terrible watching the games on streaming.
I'm going to tell you right now, well, I need to check the South Korean market, but I would almost bet you, since betting has become the theme of this conversation, I would almost bet you that you would have been able to get the game, but it's a separate product. It's not the NFL Sunday ticket. It's not an American ticket, because when I was at Yahoo Sports running Yahoo Sports, Brian Rolap and I, Brian, who runs the chief business officer, you probably know at the NFL, who's done an extraordinary job doing these rights deals, sponsorship deals, and media deals across the board. Brian and I, over 15 years ago, created an international Sunday ticket product. I believe it was called NFL Game Pass.
I bought it in Japan in 2007, and I thought, it's Korea in 2019. There's no way I'm going to click a button, give them $20, and the game's going to come on. I just thought it was going to work that way.
Well, it should have worked that way, and I bet it works that way in many, many, many markets, because they've figured out a way, the NFL's figured out a way to window their content extraordinarily to get the most money out of you guys. But yes, look, I'm a streamer. I'm like an expat Ravens fan, having lived in Los Angeles and now Florida for last 23 years, but I've not missed a preseason game or game, whether it's been in person or on TV, but I'm a streamer, and I ran Fox Sports' digital and CBS's digital and Yahoo Sports' digital. So I've been around the block for a while. I've put a lot of these games through the streaming processes, and they're getting really, really good. Check out that.
It sucks. It's terrible. Trust me, as a guy who did it all weekend, it was terrible. It was awful.
Really
worst. It's going to make me give cable TV money. Is what it's going to make me do. My wife's a Verizon employee.
You're showing your age, Nestor. Any 18 to 30-year-old kid right now, 3 clicks of a button, they're watching.
Until it doesn't work. Until it doesn't work.
It works now. We're out of the dark ages.
Dude, I missed the Stafford to Cup pass. I'll be talking about this the rest of my life. I looked down on my app and saw that the Rams had won the game. And meanwhile, I'm toggling. The NFL, it's trash. Their app is trash. I looked at it all weekend. So David Katz is here. He is in Miami, headed to LA. At some point, Should I come? I mean, this is the whole reason I'm asking you, because like a week with a mask in LA, in a ballroom where there's dogs and bomb sniffers and all that, is Snoop Dogg really coming to Radio Row? Really? I mean, is anybody coming to Radio Row? That's my burning question right now.
I think you need to come, Nestor. This is what you do. You're there because if the story is not quite as compelling because you don't have 300 guests coming through Radio Row that you can grab and put in your show, you're still the place that Baltimore fans go to find out what is the experience like. And it's going to be a Super Bowl last year as well, unlike any other.
Did you go last year?
Experiences. I did not.
Yeah, I didn't go either. First, 27 in a row, missed last year. They've taken my seat at the game now. I don't have a seat anymore after 20. The plague, just NFL. It's not for long, apparently.
That's another conversation about.
David, you broke up on me. Speaking of bad streams. David Katz, formerly Fox, formerly Yahoo, now in Miami, always of Baltimore, joining us here. I am Nestor. We are WNST AM 1570, Towson, Baltimore. We never stop talking. Baltimore, positive.